What's the most important thing in real estate investing? It's valuation. What are the things you need to look for just to make sure that you're guaranteed, or as close to guaranteed, to make a profit and create that generational wealth? So the number one key to real estate investing is buying a property correctly. And buying that property correctly, meaning you understand what you could either sell it for or get it appraised for if you're keeping it. Too many people out there in our world, the realtors, the wholesalers, everyone that's trying to sell you properties are more than likely inflating what those properties are really worth. In reality, you're creating wealth by making sure you know your numbers, know your valuation, and only picking up the properties that are going to put money in your pocket every month or create wealth when you sell it. So let's go over what you need to look for when you're looking at a property, because lenders, we're looking for the same thing. We want to make sure that you're in a good property that we see that you can make a profit or at least refinance it into a long-term loan to create that income. Number one, we kind of went through, but it's don't trust the sources that are selling you the properties. The realtors, the wholesalers, the majority of them just want to sell a property for as much as they can, or a realtor just wants to make a commission in most cases. So they're going to more than likely give you a valuation that is best case scenario or even just totally inflated. So don't trust their valuations. Do your own work. Understand what an appraiser is going to use when they come and check, because that's what it gets down to. What is a third party, the appraiser, going to look at when you either refinance it or sell it? Yes, an appraiser is going to be involved one way or the other, and they are a third party that does not care if you make money or what the property was supposed to appraise for. They're just looking at the facts. What is the valuation right now in this current market? So check your numbers. We're going to go through some of those numbers, exactly what you need to check, but make sure when you're talking to realtors, when you're talking and working with wholesalers, you do your own checks, your own numbers to make sure that property is a great buy. Number two, just put yourself in the buyer's or the appraiser's position. If you're walking into this house, into this neighborhood, and the property is going to look like you're going to fix it up, is it the property that's like the other properties that your realtor or wholesaler are telling you about? Are your comps like comps? Are they in the same neighborhoods? Do those neighborhoods have the same amenities? Is it the same square footage? Make sure you understand, especially if you're selling it, your buyer has options. Make sure those options, when you're looking at a property, put yourself in the buyer's shoes. They're walking through different properties, different neighborhoods. Is your property and your neighborhood up to snuff with some of the other properties selling? When you're looking at these properties, make sure you're putting yourself in the position of either that buyer or the appraiser, who's going to have no feelings one way or the other. They're just going to go after the numbers, the facts. And that's where you want to put yourself. Number three is all about finding 1, 2, or 3 really good properties a year instead of finding 2, 5, 7 properties that just don't make you money. We see this over and over again. People want a deal so bad, they jump into a deal, they put all their time and effort into it, and guess what? They make little to no money. In a lot of cases, they lose money. The number one thing is making sure you get a good deal. That is all based on the valuation and what that ARV is going to look like. Now, what are those things you need to look for and at? Number one is square footage. Make sure you're looking at properties that have the same or very close square footage. We see this way too much where someone's buying an 1,800 square foot property and they're comparing it to a 2,400 square foot property. You know, there's 600 square feet different. There's 30% more house over here. If it's the same neighborhood and the same condition, of course someone's going to pay more for the larger house. Remember, put yourself in your buyer's shoes. Make sure the square footage is similar. It might be 100 or 200 square feet less, 100 or 200 square feet more, but just make sure they're similar. They're comparable. Don't stretch your square footage just to try to stretch your value. Next, let's look at beds and baths. We got to look at the difference between a 2-bedroom, 1-bath or a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. What is someone going to pay for in that market? What are they going to pay more for? Typically, someone's going to pay for a little bit more, at least for the baths. Even if it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath compared to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, that extra bath is going to get you more money. So when you're comparing these, make sure they're like properties on beds and baths. Number 3, location. Make sure your property is in a similar location. When I say that, we have properties that are located on a busy street, overlooking a commercial property, next to a big apartment building. All of those compared to a house that's maybe on a cul-de-sac or tucked away or on a park. You have to make sure your location and what's around it and surrounding it is comparable to the property you are looking at buying and flipping. Next, when you're looking at comps, let's look at parking. Does it have a garage? Does it have multi? Is it only street parking? Are there no available parking there? Make sure you're talking apples and apples even when you're talking about parking. And lastly, when we're talking about comps, make sure the communities are the same. Are they on the same square footage for lots? Does one community have a pool? Do they have bike paths and everything else that people are attracted to? Make sure you're not crossing over major roads to get better comps in a community that's not like the property you're selling. If your property does not have the same amenities, don't use those as comps for your property. When we're talking comps and we're talking appraisers, one thing you have to take in mind, they have to look at certain criteria. And some of that criteria is they can only look back 6 months on solds. When you're talking to your realtors, you're talking to your wholesalers, they may try to put in a property that sold 9 months ago or a year ago. Really what they should be doing is putting properties that sold for 3 months ago, because by the time you fix it up and sell it, that's the comps that they'll probably be using. Number 2 is distance. Typically, they're going to want properties or have to put properties that are within a half a mile or a mile in the same communities. The same kind of, if it's a ranch, they're going to look for ranch comps, buy level to buy level. They're looking for like properties to come up with that value. So look through the eyes of the appraiser when you're doing this. Also look through the eyes of you as a home buyer out there looking. Are these properties like properties? If you comp it out, if you get the value right, that's where you're almost guaranteed. There's no guarantee in life, but you're almost guaranteed to make a profit. They always say with a good buy, you could get over a lot of hurdles. Part of that good buy is just making sure your valuation is correct, accurate, and it's going to put money into your pocket and not take it out. Valuation is really important, and it's critical to what you're doing. If you need help, if you're new to this, reach out to us. We comp out properties every day. We'd be glad to look at it, put a different set of eyes on it. We'll be honest, we'll be fair, but we're not going to be like the wholesaler or realtor, just giving you comps that make no sense and not going to create any wealth or income for you. Email me at mike@hardmoneymike.com, and we'll see you on the next video.